It's Saturday, October 11th, 2025, and I'm tracking two major weather systems affecting the U.S. One of those systems is a nor'easter pushing its way up the East Coast, and the other storm system is a combination of two storms, the remnants of Tropical Storm Priscilla, and also a storm system that is off the coast in the Pacific looking to push into the northwest. And we also have Tropical Storm Raymond that wants to bring in heavy rains for parts of Arizona and New Mexico once again, so we could be talking about some flash flooding back in the forecast. First, we start with the nor'easter that'll continue to work its way up the East Coast, affecting places like Virginia, Delaware, Maryland as we move through tomorrow, getting up into New Jersey as well, and then the New York City metro, and then eventually into southern New England as it will start to weaken once it gets that far north, but it will pack a punch for several states, and that will include not only coastal flooding, but also potentially flooding from heavy rains as well. And we also have the threat for some strong wind gusts that could knock out power. This is a full fledged storm and could be the worst coastal storm we see all season long here, as the hurricane season has been relatively quiet. And here's a look at the wind gust forecast as the coastal system moves its way off to the north. Those winds, they'll be coming in out of the northeast for a good portion of the coast. That's why it's called a nor'easter. And we could potentially see wind gusts go in excess of 60 miles per hour for some locations. So this would be well into tropical storm force wind gusts. And then the storm system will slowly work its way off to the north, like I mentioned, getting into New England as a weaker system, but still could pose a threat in terms of wind gusts in excess of 50 miles per hour and the other threats, including coastal flooding and also heavy rain still in play. And zooming in, you can see how some of those wind gusts could get in excess of 60 miles per hour for parts of North Carolina. As you can see that pink color there popping out a few spots, but certainly for parts of the Outer Banks. And then if you're west of the Outer Banks, you could still get some wind gusts in excess of 50 miles per hour along the shoreline there. And then it dips down to about 40 to 30 miles per hour the farther you go inland. Heading north now for Sunday morning, we could still see some wind gusts in excess of 50, even 60 miles per hour for parts of the shoreline, but mainly 50 mile per hour gusts. This stretches from Virginia Beach all the way up to Atlantic City, and the farther west you go, the lesser the winds will be, but not by a whole lot. Still could see some wind gusts in excess of 40 miles per hour for most of Delaware, parts of Maryland, and then going to Washington, D.C., upwards of 35 miles per hour. So this is well within tropical storm force wind gusts. That's why I do think there could be some isolated power outages, and especially in New Jersey, which will probably be hit the hardest. And here we go towards late afternoon and Sunday evening. The wind gusts most likely will peak above 60 miles per hour for a couple locations along the New Jersey shoreline. Other locations above 50 miles per hour, but that could certainly knock out power. Also, these winds, they'll be coming in out of the northeast, so that's going to act to pile up the water and potentially have a little bit of a storm surge. So we could see significant coastal flooding in some locations here. And then the farther north you go, not quite as bad for Long Island Sunday night, but we could potentially see some stronger wind gusts going to early Monday morning. So for Monday morning, you could see parts of New England not really affected quite as bad as what we would get here normally from nor'easters, where we can see excess of 60, 70, even 80 mile per hour wind gusts. But we could see some wind gusts in excess of 50 miles per hour for the Outer Cape, the higher terrain of the Berkshires, and also central New England. And notice Long Island early Monday morning, a good portion of it with excess of 50 mile per hour wind gusts. All of these locations in red, this is where we could see some isolated power outages from the storm. So with the onshore flow and the anticipation of significant flooding, there is a coastal flood warning out for a good portion of the coastline here, stretching from the Outer Banks all the way up into parts of Long Island. This is where we could see potentially significant flooding from the storm, especially through parts of New Jersey that'll probably hit the worst. Outside of that, we do have the coastal flood advisory, where conditions won't be quite as bad or significant, but with the higher astronomical tide, we will also see some flooding in these locations as well, minor to moderate, all highlighted in this light green color here. And the National Weather Service in New Jersey put out this forecast for the anticipation of significant flooding here. You can see where the coastline is highlighted to have major flooding. That is in pink. Outside of that, we have moderate flooding. That's in red. So the nor'easter will most likely be producing these conditions with high tide on Sunday, and that's where you could have the biggest risk for significant flooding. And of course, the storm will be producing some pretty significant waves, where you could see an excess of 10 to 15 foot waves off the Outer Banks tonight. And as we move into Sunday, the waves become a little more intense as the storm strengthens, where you could see upwards of 15, even 20 foot waves off the coast of New Jersey and Long Island. And then we go up into New England on Monday, where we could see potentially some 10 to 15 foot waves off of the coast of the Cape and the islands as we move into the forecast Monday morning. But by Monday afternoon, the storm will start to wind down. But before it wraps up, there could be an excess of 3 to 6 inches of rainfall out of the storm, which will be producing some tropical rains at times, as it does have tropical moisture with it. So you can see where the higher rainfall amounts are in parts of North Carolina, but even going up into parts of southern New England now, this forecast has changed from the last few days, and I do expect there to be significant rains for parts of southeastern New England, specifically in Massachusetts, and also for parts of New Jersey, Delaware, and Virginia as the storm makes its way up the coast. So once Monday wraps up, the storm will start to move its way out. It takes an additional day to start to break up and move eastward, and by Wednesday, we should see improving conditions on the East Coast. Now we head out to the southwest, where we have another significant risk of heavy rainfall in the forecast, with a level 2 out of 4 risk as we move through the day tomorrow. And then on Monday, another level 2 out of 4 risk as the remnants of what is now Tropical Storm Raymond just off to the south starts to move in. You can see this with future radar over the next 2 days here, the rainfall coming in from Raymond and starting to really pile up in parts of northern Mexico specifically, but eventually through parts of Arizona and New Mexico, where we have another system that's out in the Pacific Northwest into parts of Washington and Oregon that look to bring in some more rain showers into that region. And here's a look at the rainfall forecast from Tropical Storm Raymond as it tries to work its way north. Most of that rain gets stuck in northern Mexico, but some of it will make it into parts of southern New Mexico and also Arizona. So watch out for this. There could be some more flash flooding in these locations over the next few days. And then we go to the north, where we are expecting some rainfall in the northwest, but not a whole lot of significant rain. What we are seeing significant amounts of is actually snow in the higher elevations, where you can see upwards of a foot from the weather system that's coming in, and also some of the remnants from Tropical Storm Priscilla working its way through the region as well, also being brought out as some snow showers. So looking ahead, we have a few things to watch through the next few days. We have the coastal storm system that is working its way up the East Coast, and we also have more flooding for parts of the Southwest. In addition to that, snow for the Rockies is part of that storm system, and also a storm that's moving in from the ocean as well. And we have a pattern change in the forecast. Towards the end of the month, the heat will try to work its way in again before things start to cool down into November. I'll have updates on all these things over the next several days.